During SYNERGIZE, we come to the next session for fundamentals of plant maintenance management and introductions to digital transformation of maintenance management. So for that, we need to be talking about BEAM, our enterprise asset and maintenance management software. So that is designed to help companies manage their assets, their machinery, equipment. That is actually for manufacturing as well as automotive, aerospace, mining companies, retail organizations, healthcare companies, also companies in the service industry, medical device also using BEAM for plant maintenance and asset management purposes. So for that, I'd like to invite my colleague, Sam. Sam, if you are ready, maybe you can introduce BEAM on a high level as to how it looks, how it feels, and as well as how one can use BEAM to manage asset and maintenance management operations. Are you ready to share your screen? Let me stop sharing so you can continue share your screen. Perfect, looks very good. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Kevin. And in the following, I will demonstrate BEAM, our asset fleet facility maintenance management system on a high level. And BEAM, it is a web-based system. As you can see how I'm connecting to the system, my environment. I can connect it through my web browser instead of installing any other current version on my local drive. And every single users have their own credentials for logging into the system, since BEAM is a permission-based system. So not everyone can see everything. You will see what you're supposed to do based on the permissions that are granted to your account. Different users have different permissions based on their role, position, profession, department, and group. And after we log into BEAM, we can find this dashboard on our homepage so that we can always keep tracking the performance and also KPIs of the company. Furthermore, as our data has been visualized in the widgets of the dashboard as a scorecard, a list, a table, a pie chart, or bar chart. Also, they interact with each other. Considering the one on the top left, these are different locations, different departments that we have in our company. And when we select an item in the list, then the rest of the data in the rest of the widget will change accordingly. On the top left, this is the main menu of BEAM, and you can find those 4 basic modules that we have in BEAM, which are asset management module, maintenance management module, material as known as spare parts management module, and the personnel as known as resource management module. And thanks to the modular structure of BEAM, you can pick and choose the module that you want to have and deploy on your cloud or on-premise server. And in the asset module, especially when we are in the manufacturing industry, so we have the feature as graphical asset tree, so that you can upload the blueprint or the floor plans of your company. And you can also pinpoint the location of your fixed asset, like your machinery or your equipment, like manufacturing machine or the packaging machine. And you can find its status and also the location on this graphical asset tree. In case there is any maintenance that you have scheduled by using our system, you can also find its color will be turned into red. So it is dynamic managing in our system so that you can always get the idea and also the overview of your asset status that you have in your company or in your plant. In BEAM, of course, we can record all the information of our assets. And in addition, we can also find the asset tree in our system as well. And the asset tree shows the structure of your company in an hierarchy form. So we can expand like our particular location and see what kind of resources or what kind of assets that we have allocated to this particular location. Furthermore, we can also find the asset line in this asset tree, meaning we can combine two different assets for performing the tasks. And if there's any maintenance that we have scheduled to the parent asset, it will automatically apply to the dependent asset as well. In this example, you will see like we have our manufacturing machine, and we connect it with the cooling machine. So these two machines will work together, and any maintenance that we schedule to the manufacturing machine, it will automatically apply to the cooling machine as well, since now they are working together and they are connected with each other. So unless we disconnect it, so the system will keep this relation of these two assets in this asset tree and also in our system itself. In terms of the layers that you can have in BIM, actually you do not have any limitations at all. So technically, literally, you can have infinity layers in this asset tree of BIM. And these are all the asset records that we have saved in this demo environment. So you may find their name, the code, and also location in the asset list. So here's a side note that you can also have this asset records capturing from other system like ERP system, and it will be shown in BIM seamlessly with the integration. So you may find the information of the asset like location, status, buying price, serial number, barcode number if there's any. Also, you can define the default material list that we are going to consume for any maintenance that we schedule to this asset, and also the default team, which is responsible for any maintenance that for this asset. You can also ask the system to send you an alert and record the information of the insurance and also the inspection. So by the time the insurance or inspection is going to expire, especially for our machine, it has to be covered by the insurance and also inspection. Then the system will remind you, okay, time now to renew or to perform the inspection or renew your insurance in order to make sure your production will not be interrupted. And a picture and also documents related to your asset, you are more than welcome to upload it along with your record in that you have saved in BIM. In BIM, we have the reporting tool that is available for every single module, and BIM provides over 10,000 ready-made reports that you can generate in our system. Before generating our report, you are more than welcome to put together certain conditions or criteria, like the department or location that you want to see in terms of the asset status, as we are generating the asset status report. And all your data will be shown in the table and also in a pie chart, depending the report that we are generating. You are more than welcome to export your report into PDF, Excel, or image for sharing with any responsible parties, and also for your own documentation. Other than generating this report every single time we need it, also we can schedule this report to be sent by the system automatically. And simply we enter the recipient's email address, like my own address, and also the frequency of receiving this report, meaning like how often that you want to receive this report. Every day at 9 in the morning, or certain days of a week, or certain dates of a month. And once it is defined and set up in the system, then you don't have to log in to BIM and generate your report. Instead, you will find this report in your email inbox based on the schedule that you have set up in the system. As we have our asset information ready, and in case there is an unplanned breakdown, the operators, for example, the operators of our machinery or equipment, they can file a work request in our system, meaning requesting certain maintenance to the asset, which has the unplanned breakdown. And as for BIM, we have a native mobile application. It is available for Android and iOS device. So the operators are highly likely they don't have a laptop or not even desktop with them. But they can file this work request by using their handheld device, like a tablet or their smartphone. So what they can do is scan the QR code or the barcode labeled on the asset, or pick and choose the record among the asset records that we have in the system, and enter the information in this open text box as additional information. For example, what is happening, what they are facing at this moment for the unplanned breakdown, like smoke coming out from the engine, or the belt is broken, for example, and any image or video that they recorded by using their handheld device. They are more than welcome to attach it right here in their work request as a reference or evidence to the maintenance team. All the work requests will be sent to the work order pool, and this work order pool is mostly managed by the maintenance team, so that we can schedule the work order based on the work request, or simply schedule work order without any work request for sure. So right here, we have one of the example. Let me pull this up. As what we are going to see is on the top right, we can schedule the start date and end date for our work order, like when we are going to perform the maintenance to our assets. And we can pick and choose the date from the calendar, and the labor, like who is or are involved in this work order, the spare parts that we have consumed, and also the services provided by the third parties that we purchase or that we get. All of those can be recorded in our work order. In addition, we can also define the work steps as a reference to the maintenance team, like the engineers or the mechanic. And they have to update the system, like when they open this work order, if they have performed this particular step that we have this specified in this work order. Especially to our machine, we have our guidance or instruction coming from the manufacturer, the machine manufacturer. Then we can also define those work steps as a reference to the team, and then they just follow what we ask them to do and perform the maintenance to our assets and fix the unplanned breakdown. All the costs will be calculated automatically by the system, and you don't have to do the calculation in your head or using any calculator. You will find the labor cost, material cost, and also service cost accordingly within this work order page, so that it gives you an idea of how much that we have spent for this maintenance against our assets or machinery. All the work order can be found in the work order calendar, so that we can see what we have scheduled in the past and also what is upcoming. So all of those can be found in this calendar, and you are more than welcome to open the detail of this particular work order. So we are not simply showing what you have scheduled, but if you want to see the detail of what you have scheduled, you're more than welcome to open it within this work order calendar. In order to keep your assets at the best condition, you can schedule the preventive maintenance for your assets. And when I'm talking about scheduling the preventive maintenance, there are two measurements that we can use in BIM for scheduling the preventive maintenance. And the first one is follow by date, meaning follow up after a certain time frame or time period. Then the system will generate a preventive maintenance automatically for your asset, like every 60 days or every like 104 weeks, meaning 2 years. You may see the next maintenance date will be updated automatically, based upon the last maintenance date, or kind of like 36 months. So the system is very flexible for you to schedule your preventive maintenance based upon different time frame that you want to set up for our assets. Another way that we can use is followed by certain counter value, meaning the value that we capture from for your assets. So as for BIM, like the way that we capture the value, first of all is we can integrate with the IoT devices that you equipped on your assets. So based upon certain value that we capture, for example, like production, vibration, rotation, temperature, humidity, and saying like even mileage. And then the system will create a preventive maintenance automatically. For example, and as we say, like every 10,000 production, and then we should have the preventive maintenance to our manufacturing machine. Then we can simply use this follow-up by counter value, and then the system based upon the value that we capture from the IoT devices, and preventive maintenance work order will be generated in the system automatically. Another way that we can keep tracking the production or the value of the from the counter is we can also upload it by any Excel file, for example, with the template provided by Bimser International, so that you can update the Excel and then upload all the value that you capture in batch. We also have the material and as known as spare parts management module. That in this module we can manage the information of our spare parts. The information like the code, the name, the UM, for example, barcode number, you are more than welcome to record it in our system. In addition, you can also set up the warehouse parameters in order to optimize your inventory costs. We can also we can define the minimum, maximum, and also the safety stock level. So you won't keep too many parts in your warehouse, and also you can make sure you will not run out of this spare part in your warehouse, as the system will send you a reminder to purchase more or stop purchasing this spare part for your warehouses. Vendor information and equivalent information can also be saved in our system in case we want to purchase more or we run out of our spare parts. We know who we should contact or what can be a substitution respectively. Any documents like handbook, safety guideline, and instructions, in addition to the picture of your spare part, you are more than welcome to upload it in our system. And at last, we come to the personnel management module, which you can find all the information or your employee information in this module, especially to your engineer or mechanic. We can find the information that we recorded in our system, like the employee ID, the employee name, the warehouse, the shift that they are working as. And also we can find their picture if there's any. You are more than welcome to upload it. More important is we can upload the documents, especially the license or certificate that are being held by these employees. Think about like driver license or any license related to the maintenance activities. So we can keep tracking the expiration date of the license that they are holding and remind them to renew their license in order to make sure your production will not be interrupted. All the schedule of our employees can be found in the resource occupation calendar, so that we can see the schedule of our mechanic and also our engineers. So while we are scheduling the maintenance activities or scheduling the maintenance to our maintenance team, we can also find like who is or all available by coming to this occupation calendar in order to make sure there is no schedule conflict while we are scheduling the maintenance to them. It comes to the end of my demonstration of BIM on a high level. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sam, for the demonstration. Let me take over the screen and we'll continue this session. As we saw during Sam's demonstration, companies can use, especially manufacturers, for example, can use BIM for plant maintenance management. And we'll also learn about total productive plant maintenance management practices as well. So for that, I'd like to invite our panelist, Ran Lavland, to our virtual stage so that we can learn also the fundamentals of total productive maintenance management. Ran, are you ready to share your screen?
I am ready. Let me see if I can get my screen up here.
Okay.
Okay, well, thank you, Kevin, for inviting me to chat a little bit about some lean techniques that we've been employing to help our manufacturing customers here in the New York metro area. This is called total productive maintenance, which we don't always talk about, but it's all about Murphy's Law, right? Well, whenever you need it the worst, something's going to go wrong, right? So, it's the end of the month, you're trying to make production, or you have a urgent requirement to get out, and all of a sudden, boom, you have a machine breakdown, and man, you're kicking yourself that you didn't do more to make sure that things went well. So today we're going to talk about techniques that have been developed by the Toyota production system as well as others in Japan to avoid that last minute oops breakdown that we all seem to run into. So just a little introduction of who Summit is. We are a manufacturing consulting firm. We do safety, quality, and efficiency, and our target really focuses on manufacturers, distributors, and we also help construction, especially in the safety areas. So what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about maintenance, right? For a lot of you, you have your own car, you have your own equipment, and you got to keep that top notch. So we're talking about maintenance, the types of maintenance, total productive maintenance, which is really focused on manufacturing, history of TPM, the TPM pillars, 6 big glosses, and goals and benefits of using total productive maintenance. All right, so what do we mean by maintenance? Really, let me just get my screen so I can see what's happening here. There we go. It's types of maintenance. You either fix it when it breaks, right? Which most of us do, right? You're driving down the road, you're heading, your car's all packed, you're full of your luggage and everything, going to the lake or going to a vacation, and all of a sudden, boom, you get a flat tire, right? So you got to deal with it when it happens to you. The other approach, which I recommend is a little bit smarter, is the preventative maintenance, right? So you take a proactive approach, you try to avoid those problems that seem to keep coming up, and then avoid that last minute driving rain or in a snowstorm or whatever it is. You gotta get out and change your tire. Much better to be ahead of it to make sure that that doesn't happen to you. All right, and then there's predictive maintenance, right? Just an attempt to determine the best way to predict when things are going to happen. And it's like, well, how do I know that, right? Well, let's take the automotive tire situation, right? If you keep your tires well maintained, you inspect them routinely, then you're gonna know that after 40, 50,000 miles, whatever they're rated for, that hey, it's time for some new tires. And predictive maintenance is one of the 4 tactical approaches that we could take. It's either on fail, right? It happens in the middle of a snowstorm or rainstorm. There's a fixed time, that, okay, I have, tires that are rated for 50,000 miles. So probably around 30,000, I should be checking out if I haven't done that initially. There's predictive and design out, sorry. So how many people have run flats, right? I happen to have run flats on mine. So even if you do, run over a nail or, pick up something, you can still make it to the maintenance place and get your tires changed if you have run flats. So that's kind of a design, new design technique that has been happening. You have an optimized maintenance plan, and you may have a distribution, a mix of these different techniques to make sure that your equipment is running top notch, and you don't have that last minute, Murphy's Law issue that kills you at the end of the month, or with a critical delivery you have to make. And if you look at this chart here from ASME, it kind of gives you kind of a cost of what it costs you to take different approaches to maintenance, right? So if you just wait for breakdown, relatively speaking, that's going to cost you about $55. If you plan ahead, it's 30. And if you use predictive, if you use predictive maintenance, it's down around $7, comparative cost. So it certainly pays, even though it's a little bit more investment of time and money to do that ahead of time. It's better off in the long run. All right, so predictive maintenance is really the most attractive, and it's the one that you really should be using. It takes a look at avoiding that severe damage. That's the other problem with if you're not paying attention and you just wait for the things to break. If that machine breaks, what else is going to break with it, right? So a lot of times, if you have a catastrophic issue with the machine that breaks, it breaks other components, and all of a sudden you got a much bigger problem than if you had spent time ahead of time to make sure you get that maintenance done. And it's really a team approach with predictive maintenance. Is everybody from the operator through the facility maintenance, through the engineers, all work together to make this work well. You work at, you take a look at condition monitoring, right? So if you see that you've got some wear and tear, or you got some poor performance or reduced performance in a piece of equipment, you have to take that into effect as well to predict where things are going to break down. A lot of times, again, if you go back to the car situation, right? If you hear a weird noise, right? A matter of fact, interesting story is just last week, my wife was doing the laundry with the dryer, and all of a sudden you're hearing this horrible squeak, and you're saying, "What's going on?" I mean, we could have just let it keep on going until the belt snapped, and then we'd have no dryer. So instead, that was an indication that we needed to change the belt, and we got that repaired, and we're back in business. So our 15-year-old dryers keep on trucking, but that kind of gives you an idea of the condition monitoring, to make sure you pay attention to those weird sounds that you may hear in your equipment. All right, so again, total predictive maintenance is a company-wide strategy. You take a systemic approach, and you basically look at the science approach to maintaining your equipment, as opposed to rolling the dice and hoping for the best. Again, company-wide strategy and a systematic approach that includes everybody in the process to make sure it's working right. So here's a little bit of, is this going on in your facility, right? Maintenance is fighting against operations, is fighting against engineering. Operations just want to crank it out, man. Let's just keep on going. We don't have time to stop and fix it and do preventive maintenance. The maintenance guys are saying, man, if you don't fix it, if you don't stop operations, give me time to fix it, you're going to have a problem. So let's work together to get that. And engineering, a lot of times, there's a design of the equipment that you could put in place to avoid these breakdowns. Again, here's you want to avoid the downtime, the defects. If your equipment is not performing to top quality, you're not going to be making good parts, right? So you're going to have issues going on there. So before there was you basically you're fighting against each other between maintenance, operations, and engineering, and really what TPM seeks to do is to get everybody working together. Operations has to give up some time to get the maintenance done. Engineering is going to take a look at your processes and your equipment maybe design out, some of those potential issues that you have with maintenance breakdowns. All right, so once again, company-wide efforts, everybody's working together. It's productive. There are some actions that you could do while production is going on, right? You can still take a look at the site gauges, make sure that the fluid levels are where they need to be. Maybe there's some temperature gauges that you're looking at as well. So, if something is identified, and typically it's the operator that's right there that sees it, they alert the maintenance crew and keep it in good condition. So here's a little bit of history. It came out of Nippon Denso, a Japanese manufacturer that came up with this concept. It really makes a lot of sense, again, to work together, total team from operator through engineering and maintenance to make sure that equipment is doing well. So let's talk about some of the pillars of TPM, total productive maintenance. You got autonomous maintenance, KAIZEN, planned maintenance, quality maintenance, training, offices, right? So a lot of times, we go into companies that are saying, man, we're struggling with efficiencies, and a lot of times the root is in the office. If the people on the floor, the equipment operators are not getting the information that they need from the office, then it impacts not only their production but as well as their maintenance. And then finally, very important for all of us these days is safety, health, and environmental issues. So we have to keep all of those in mind as we're going through this process. All right, pillar number one is 5S. For those who are not familiar with that, that's a lean technique that basically says sort, set in order, shine, and standardize and sustain. You got to look at getting rid of the stuff that's in the way. I've been to far too many companies where they have old equipment, they have old piles of product in the way. You got to get that all sorted out. Get rid of the stuff that you don't need anymore, that you're not working anymore, and then clean it up. Standardize, make sure that you have a standard process so everybody sees that that's the way it's supposed to be in my operation. And then of course, the biggest thing is sustaining, right? So work to sustain those efforts. All right, pillar number two is autonomous maintenance, which basically talks about, the person, the operator at the machine who's looking at what's going on. They're really your first line of defense, and it's not the attitude of, hey, I'm the operator, I'll let maintenance fix it. It's, hey, I'm the operator, I got to make sure my equipment works. Just like you as a car owner, you got to change the oil, you got to bring it back to the shop if it needs a periodic maintenance. So the operators need to be part of the team that keeps it going. So initial cleaning, eliminating source of contamination. This really talks about 5S in the general area. Have a checklist of cleaning to make sure at the end of the day, at the end of the week, whatever it might be, that you're making sure that you're keeping it clean and you're keeping it operating well. General inspection, autonomous inspection, and just general housekeeping to make sure it goes. So this really talks about the operator's role in total productive maintenance. KAIZEN, right? So number 3 is talking about KAIZEN. Did I miss one? Yeah, no, I didn't. We have to continuously improve, right? Just like Chris was talking about earlier. I love that video that you put together, Chris, with the baker. We're always constantly changing and improving. So think about ways that you can work together as a team to conduct Kaizens and can continuously improve. All right, I got a chat here. Let me just see what we're saying in the chats. Okay, you got it, man. So let's talk about planned maintenance, right? So, with planned maintenance, you're trying to eliminate, breakdowns. So instead of, I guess sometimes you're still going to run into breakdowns, and you're going to have to, fix equipment that fails that you may have missed. But having a good preventative maintenance program, and this again includes the operators as well as the whole team, the facilities maintenance folks and the engineers. Corrective maintenance talks about improving it, taking a look at ways that we can improve maintenance on the floor. And then finally, at the facilities level, looking at, designing new equipment, bringing in new equipment that doesn't need quite as much maintenance as they had in the past. All right, quality maintenance, this is talking about your product, right? As you're making your product, you want to make sure it's defect free, right? So a good example of this is if you look at, let's say, a milling operation, right? In a machine shop, you want to make sure that your tools are good and sharp and that they haven't made the end of their life. Because if you go all the way to the end of your life, you're going to start making bad product, and that's not a good way to do. As much as you can, use poka-yoke, mistake proofing, to avoid any potential defects. And of course, it's all about preventing defects at the source. You want to make sure that you make a good part before it goes on to the next operation. Training, right? So this is a key to most things going on in manufacturing, especially in maintenance. You start out and people don't know what to do, or maybe they know what to do, but they can't do it. So you got to teach them. And also you got to follow up with the training to make sure that employees are doing the right trainings they're supposed to be doing. So it's another investment, right? That unfortunately, some manufacturers get too busy and they don't take time to invest in training, but certainly it has to be done. So, if you don't have time internally, we in the consulting area can certainly help you to get that extra bandwidth and get that training done. Office, I talked about this earlier. The office TPM, a lot of times, things happen in the office that create problems on the floor. Really need to have the office cleaned and efficient, and making sure that they're helping out with making sure that the production folks have all the information they need, the material that they need, the tools that they need, and the training that they need as well. And then finally, safety. Again, that's one of the pillars of our company. We do safety, quality, and industrial engineering. You got to be safe. You got to make sure that you have lockout, tagout procedures. Make sure nobody's working on the equipment when it's still live. Electrically or mechanically. But you have to do the maintenance, right? So just make sure that you're doing it safely. All right, what's the mission of TPM, right? It's to get zero breakdowns, zero abnormalities, zero defects, and of course, zero accidents. All right, so let's talk about equipment effectiveness. Equipment effectiveness is based on maintainability, reliability, availability, efficiency, quality rate, and OEE, which is overall equipment effectiveness. Mean time to repair is talking about maintainability. So here's a little example again going back to vehicles, right? I used to own a Dodge Caravan, and I knew that the life of the transmission was 75,000 miles. So what you don't want to do is decide you want to drive from Long Island to Florida with a transmission it's on its last leg. So certainly have to replace that transmission, or at least have it really checked out thoroughly to make sure it's running well before you take off on a long trip. So that's the whole idea about mean time to repair. Reliability, actually, I'm sorry, this is the mean time between failures, actually the story about the Caravan. But the same type of thing, you got to look at what's your total running time over the number of failures, and you take a look at the reliability of the process. All right, my computer's stuck here a little bit. Let me just get out of this for a minute and close this out and go back to it. There we go. Okay, efficiency. You got to take a look at the efficiency of your operation. What's the rate of your equipment? What's the speed of your equipment? And that'll give you your performance efficiency. Quality rate. How many good parts do you have out of total number of parts? This is something certainly to look at, and it's another maintenance indicator for you. So if your quality's going down, certainly have to look at that and make sure that it stays way up there. So OEE is basically availability times reliability times quality. All right, what are some of the big 6 losses, right? You got equipment failure, you got setup and adjustments, and another lean technique we take a look at is single minute exchange diodes, which takes a look at setup reductions. Speed loss, right? If you have a component jam, a misfeed, a delivery blocked, it's going to slow down your operation. And then if you have a piece of equipment that's just rough running, kind of the thought I had before about if you hear something weird going on in the engine or in the car somewhere, you got to make sure you stop and get that, identify what it is and get it fixed. Same with equipment on the shop floor. All right, defects, right? If you start seeing scrap, if you start seeing, the scrap piling up or rework going on, of course, that's costing you a lot in your production. So you got to make sure you get that fixed. And production rejects, this is more looking at, the QA folks, quality improvement or assurance folks that are kicking things back and saying, hey, we got bad product here. We got to check it out and get it fixed. It's all about continuous improvement, right? So you want to make sure that your trajectory is heading up and not heading down as far as getting better about avoiding the big 6 losses. All right, let's talk about OEE. This is overall equipment effectiveness. That's availability times performance times quality. You see the calculations here. Availability is operating time over total time available. Performance is talking about ideal cycle time divided by operating time, and then quality, of course, is good parts over total parts. This kind of gives you an idea of areas that you may be looking at with scrap and rework, minor stoppages, etc. So, as the maintenance manager of a facility, you kind of take an overall look of what's happening with your operation, and this would be a good data point to take a look at in your operation. This talks about the graph before, which is basically a stair step, and you want to try to avoid those losses that you see in the stair step identities. Okay, well, if you want to benchmark yourself, what you be looking at, right? Availability should be 90%, performance 95%, quality 6 Sigma, right? You're looking at 99.9%. And overall equipment effectiveness is 85%. What's OEE? It's a measurement of TPM progress, right? So if you're trending up again, you're doing well. If you're trending down, then you got to dig into that and find out what it is that's driving your OEE down. Some of the benefits: increased equipment productivity, less downtime, increased capacity. Lower maintenance and production cost. You really want to take a look at zero equipment to cause defects. So any quality manager will tell you that zero defects is your ideal, which you're shooting for. And enhanced job satisfaction. People like to be able to operators like to be able to make good parts, feel good about what they're doing. If they're making a bunch of scrap, I'm sure they're going to be getting a lot of heat from the production manager. They'd be a lot happier if things are going well and they understand what's happening in the process. They've been trained, and they can produce good parts. And of course, from a business standpoint, you always want a good return on investment. All right, here's an example that you could use if you want to do a little calculation and come up with what the OEE is. I think we're going to skip that for today, but that's it for me. Thank you. Any questions that anybody has?
Thank you, Ron. Yes, I'm receiving questions from the audience, so I'll share them with you. Let me take over the screen for quick, and we can address the questions. Okay. All right. So let me see the list of the questions they got. Okay. So as for the total product maintenance practices, where should we start from? What should be the first step?
Well, the first step is, of course, with the operator, right? So you have to come up, work with the team, right? Have a KAIZEN we talked about, which is a rapid improvement team. This is quick, simple things that you can do. So you get the team together and say, okay, here's equipment number one, right? What should we be doing? What should the operator be doing? What should the maintenance be doing? What type of alert should we have? What training do we need? So you identify what it is we need to do, agree as a team is, whose responsibility is what, and then roll that out and train it, and keep that training going for any new operators you have to make sure that everybody's on the same team and pulling in the same direction.
In terms of total productive maintenance management practice, does it matter or it varies? Depends on what type of manufacturer it is. For example, discrete manufacturer versus process manufacturer, for example. Does that change anything in terms of the fundamentals that you shared?
No, not at all. If you have a piece of equipment that needs to be maintained, it doesn't matter if you're producing food or concrete or metal or aerospace parts or biopharmaceutical work. It applies across the board, any sector of manufacturing.
Okay, that's great. Let me see if there is another questions. One question is for us. Thanks for the BIM demonstration. Does it also have a mobile app? Yeah, that's a good question, and we get these type of questions very often nowadays. Rightly so, because mobile apps are basically mobile devices are part of our lives. We use it all the time, and especially in terms of maintenance, what we see is there is most of the maintenance team members, based on what we see, they are not at their desk. They don't have a desk, or they're not at their desk. Most of the time, they are busy fixing preventive maintenance and predictive maintenance type of operations. Or sometimes, just like Graham mentioned, they are reactively maintaining things. So in that sense, they really use and need a mobile application. So we do have a mobile application of being a mechanic, a technician, for example, for let's say mechanical, for electrical, electronic, and so on, can receive a work request on the mobile application, and then go to the workstation accordingly. So you can also measure the reaction time. Let's say I am your team member as a mechanic, for example. You assign me a task. How long does it take for me to get to that machine and start working? That's the reaction time, basically. So you can also capture that on that device. Another thing is that we get all the time, I think that's also one of the questions as well, is the work steps. So standardizing work steps basically is a very common practice as we see among manufacturers. So as to do, what's the best step, best practice as to fix a machine, or for example, maintain a certain maintenance. So you can also put your work steps in BIM software. So you can follow the work steps accordingly. Ideally, whatever it is, basically based on manufacturers' recommendation, maybe based on your own practices, based on as an organization, based on your experience, for example. That is also very helpful. Another question that we get: mobile app works online or offline? That is also very important, because some manufacturers, as we work and as we see, sometimes they don't have enough Wi-Fi coverage. Sometimes they are further away from the coverage area, for example. That is very common. So that is why our mobile app comes in two versions, online and offline. Online works when you have the Wi-Fi or 3G, whichever network that you have. An offline version works when you have basically no coverage, and you basically store your information offline on your device, mobile app or tablet, for example. That's very practical. Just to address the question. Let's see in terms of any other questions that we need to address. As for the KPIs, Ran, it looks like this question is for you. How should we put the KPIs, and how often we should have reviews for productive maintenance management purposes?
Yeah, good question. A lot of companies are going to digital readouts and showing what the OEE is for the operational efficiency for the machine, for the group. Sometimes you have a cell operating, and for instance, there's a company over in Westbury, Oerlikon Metco, that has a super program where they basically they up on a big TV, they show what the output is. And the good thing about this, it creates competition between the operators, right? So everybody's working together. They want to make sure that they're winning, right? And the competition they see up on the board. So these outputs are captured and then reported reported immediately on the screen. So on a daily basis, the manager will walk around and say, hey, what happened here? If you're not up to speed. And one thing I didn't mention in the presentation, but certainly very important, is data capture, right? So I know that Bimser works a lot with that. And nowadays there's people have tablets that they use to capture information. So crunching those numbers digitally is a great way to keep track of that. You want to do your Pareto analysis to make sure that you're working on the toughest problems first and keeping the equipment running.
Yes, definitely. And we also have a follow-up question. For example, they're asking us, like, how do we basically help them automate their plan maintenance management operations? Just like Ram mentioned, we basically integrate certain things. So in terms of data capture, there are basically two ways. One is that you can actually punch in as for, let's say, working hours or produce, let's say, how many widgets that you produce, for example. So these may be trigger points as for triggering the preventive maintenance, for instance, right? So this can be entered manually. So what we do is, the second way is basically automated it. So most of the machinery and equipment, they come with a software. Either a PLC or another machine-based software that we can integrate. So we can capture the production information, how many widgets that you produce, or how many hours that particular machine or equipment have been running. So let's say you need to perform maintenance every 1,000 hours, for example. We can capture that. I mean, we can automatically request maintenance, release maintenance orders, for example, to team members early on. So you can prepare your spare parts, you can prepare your team members. You can prepare the machine, basically. So just like I mentioned, the more preventive, the more proactive you are, then you'll have a chance to plan ahead. So there will be no unplanned breakdown. So you'll maybe stop the production, but it's going to be planned. You know exactly when you're going to stop. You let your customers know. You let your team members know. So it's going to be in a planned manner. So it's going to be okay. You won't lose anything in that sense as for maintenance, because you're going to plan ahead. So the same thing is to basically in Beam, that we basically help you practice it. So it's not easy to do, but many of our customers, they do it, and that is the ideal way. Just like Ram mentioned, is for the fundamentals and the productive maintenance management. So that is basically, once you practice that, what we do is basically the outcome of it digitally, and you basically practice on daily basis. And let's remember, our system comes with reminders, notifications, as well as escalations to make sure maintenance is getting done. So that is actually critical. Perfect. I think we addressed all the questions, Ram. Thank you so much for sharing your insights. It was really nice to have you. Always very informative. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate that, and appreciate all the good work you're doing to help manufacturers thrive here in Long Island area. Stay well, everybody.
You too. Thanks so much. Okay, bye now. All right, so I think we can go to the next session. Next session, I'll start the recording for that as well. So we'll learn about ISO.